welcome to the Inspired Riding Podcast. I'm your host, Beth Lauren Parrish. As a certified riding instructor, remote coach, and animal communicator, I bridge the gap between your inner and outer worlds as you strive to enhance all aspects of your riding. I'm here to remind you that you are powerful and more than capable of changing your reality with your horse time. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Inspired Riding interview series. I'm so glad you're here. Let's take a nice deep breath. Breathe in, breathe out, sending love to all of you. And today I am so excited and grateful that Dee Wesley is here to chat with us. Dee is an amazing body worker for horses, and love to have you say hello and let us know where you're from and what exactly you do with the horses, and that way we can get started this way.
Hey, well, thanks for having me again, Beth.
You're
I
welcome.
miss seeing you and Pepper and oh, what's the other one's name? I can't remember.
That's okay.
Indy, yeah. Anyhow, yeah. So my name is Dee Wesley. I'm from Middle Georgia, originally from Pennsylvania, and I am an equine body worker. I've been doing this probably 30 some years. I don't know. I lose track. I started out with people. That was my, I'm an ND. That's a certification. I'm not a medical professional. And I started working with people. And as I started through this course with the ND, I discovered bodywork. And I started my bodywork business with people and got into horses. I've been into horses several times. You know, you start with horses, you take a break, and, you know, life happens. And I wound up back in with horses again and had horses with problems. And the owner of the facility said, "Hey, you think you can do something?" And I said, maybe. And I did. And it went from there to a whole lot of other studies and certifications and rabbit holes. I am probably best known as being out of the box. There is nothing that I won't consider trying as long as it will be effective and beneficial and not a short-term Band-Aid. I've gone way past doing the Band-Aids with horses. I really like to do corrective things with the horses and the owners. The owner plays such a big part of keeping their horses in tip-top shape for longevity, soundness, and performance. I work with a lot of performance horses across disciplines. I have hunter jumpers, I have eventers, I have roping horses, barrel horses, trail horses, retired horses, you name it, it's in my book.
I love it. And that's one of the reasons I love having you out here is not only are you incredibly intuitive, but you think outside the box and you come up with the coolest things. So I just really appreciate that about you.
Well, thank you. That's, it's a never ending thing. I can tell you that.
Absolutely.
I can read something, and you know, there's a lot of information out there. People can learn a lot of things DIY. That's my probably my newest endeavor is putting together DIY PDFs for people. So you don't need me there. You may need somebody else there, but you don't need me. You can learn to do a lot of these things DIY. It's much cheaper in the long run, especially if you have issues with your horses. But anyhow, that's as I get into I'm not near my twilight years, but I think I would like to slow down and enjoy the fruits of my labor with my horses, aside from just bathing and grooming and putting my hand on them. And you know, I don't ride much anymore because I've just been so busy. And my body has a part of that too. You know, I'd like to take care of myself more. I think everybody should take care of themselves more. You may think that you're doing the best that you can. Do more.
I like that. Yes. Preach.
Yeah, I can do that.
Oh my gosh. Well, let me ask you a really fun question that I ask everyone in the beginning. If I were to hand you $10 million, what would be the first thing you would do?
I thought long and hard on this because my first answer is rehab facilities that everybody could get there within 3 to 4 hours drive. I would be like satellite rehab facilities. However,
yeah,
I want those facilities to be the type that works with the psyche of the horse. These horses that go into rehab facilities generally have a physical issue. Quite often they have a mental block because horses don't let things go like people do, or you can't tell them, just forget about what happened and do this. And that doesn't work. I have a real interesting analogy about limping. If you sprain your ankle, and you can relate to this. If you sprain your ankle and you limp because you're protecting your ankle, and that ankle has healed, but you're still limping because your body has been set up in this pattern, and you think you have to continue to protect it. That's how horses think.
That's so
now
true. Yeah.
You're a toddler that you're responsible for, your child, your niece, nephew, grandchild, whatever, is just coming 3 years old, and they are at that point when you say no, and they're just going to push that envelope. And you say to them, do not go past the front of the house. That's too close to the road. And they go 2 steps past the front of the house, and you say, I said, and they giggle and they run toward the road. So there you go, and you take off at a rapid rate of speed, and you snatch that child up, and you say, I told you not to go past the house. And you turn around, you're giving them a hug, and it's okay. And you turn around and you're walking back, and you realize that you ran. You didn't limp. You didn't fall down, and it's perfectly fine. So horses, we don't get to do that with horses. Like you can't, you have the horse that says, well, you can't make me because I can't do that. The horse thinks they physically cannot do it. And so you have to get out of the box and work with their mind and kind of trick them into a movement. And they're like, oh, I can do this. I can do it like this. And that's a whole training thing that, that people go through, but they don't realize that issue is always there when they have an injury. So I would spend almost every dollar. I think I need 2 new pairs of boots, maybe a new jacket and a hat.
I think you should get that. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But that's what I would do. I would, if I couldn't, if I couldn't do that, I would kind of train people to be able to go into these facilities and work with these horses once a week, twice a week, have a whole different niche of working with troubled horses. I talked about doing those PDS for DIY. And I have one that's really interesting that works with the 5 elements of the horse, because everything in an injury or a crisis, everything gets jumbled up in their body. And so do the messages that go to the brain that tell them what to do. So if you can rebalance that yourself, you'll find that, and this is going more into the rescue end of it, but you'll find that if you can work with these horses and get them balanced internally, that a lot of those troubling issues go away. And it's just a matter of knowing how to do it. And again, that's what I want to share with people. So,
I love this idea. I can't wait to see all of them.
Yes.
And I'll definitely share them in the group for sure.
Thank you.
So speaking of group, I'm going to go to my private group members' questions, so that way we make sure we get them first.
Okay.
Kelly wanted to know, what are your thoughts on warm-up or stretching exercises for the horse prior to a ride? And then her next part of it was thoughts on how to alleviate arthritis pain in an older horse, and is MSM valuable in your opinion?
Big question. Yes, warm up is incredibly important for your horse's pre-ride. Whatever you do with there's a number of different exercises out there. Some I'm a big fan of, some I'm not, just for reasons of the biomechanics of the horse, because that's where I kind of specialize. If whatever you do with your horse, your stretching routine, I like passive stretches, and you can Google that. You can ask people about passive stretches. The most important thing that you can do, however, after your stretches, is give your horse a good 10 to 15 minutes of a walk, just a walk. Especially if your horses have been stalled and then you get them out and you're going to ride. If they're pasture horses, 5 to 10 minutes is good. That is good for the joints. The stretching is good for the muscles to loosen things up and open things up. The walk, your horse moving at the walk, is important for the joints, the synovial fluid in the joints. Okay, I'm going to get myself in trouble probably. So a lot of times when you take your horse and they're considering injections and they want to check that fluid, if the horse has not really, and I can't say that I understand 100% how the fluid thickens as it's protecting, but when they pull this fluid and it's thin and they say, oh, this fluid should be thicker. Well, if they had done this after a good warm up and exercise, I think that they would find that those fluids would be thicker. So it's not that I'm not a fan of injections. I think anything that you can do to help your horse if you're in performance or keeping him healthy and comfortable, I think that's fine. I think they should be used judiciously. So that's where also we're talking about arthritis. So if you can warm that horse up, a lot of times these horses in the beginning stages of arthritis, they warm up out of it. And that's a big indicator. I personally have, and this is another, get myself in trouble. Beware of the supplements that you're giving your horses. Don't believe all the marketing hype out there. They will take properties of any different substance that you can do, even natural substances, and they'll take the information that they have historically used for people and automatically translate it to horses. Horses are not people. Their digestive processes are different. How they utilize things, how they utilize things are different. So I tend to go more natural as possible. And so, yes, I use light therapy a lot, more and more and more in my business and for my clients and for my customers. MSM is an important nutrient found in the body. I think you need to use a quality MSM if you're going to. I do know that in English disciplines, FEI, there's a lot of regulations. I don't know. They say MSM is prohibited if it's found too much in the bloodstream. Who measures that? I mean, who knows if a 4-year-old has more in their body than a 10-year-old? That's a little subjective, but that's the powers that be. I don't make the rules. So yes, MSM is good. If you are in an English discipline and you don't want to use MSM as a supplement, I suggest hyaluronic acid. And then there again, you're looking at molecular structure and the size of the molecule getting into the joint. But hyaluronic acid is also good for your tendons and ligaments, muscles, and joints. So I hope that answers your question. If you have specifics on your arthritis, you can feel free to contact me, Kelly.
Thank you, Dee. And then just to clarify regarding the warm up and the stretching, do you typically walk them 10, 15 minutes and then do the stretching, or you do the stretching and then the walking?
I think most people should just do a nice, easy lengthening stretch. That's why I say about passive stretching.
Right.
and then take them, under saddle, take them on a nice little walk.
Okay.
Not straight lines. That's another thing. I'm a big fan of straight lines. A lot of people want to just walk circles and walk circles. You're actually loading and unloading, some balance in the lower limbs, that you really want to keep that to a straight line for at least the first 5 minutes. And then after you ride, please, please, please stretch your horses after you ride, because everything that they have bundled up and tensed up needs to be released. And sometimes they need some help. So give them a nice little stretch after you ride too.
Yeah, you showed me some great ones with Pepper, and he still gets annoyed that I do it, but I'm like, you still need this. It's really funny.
Yeah. We can get deep into how I like to do those movement exercises. I don't always call them stretches. I like them to be lengthened and just have more movement and range of motion.
Yes, I love that. So cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Jana would like to know what angle you take for pain management. She'd love to hear about alternatives to substances that irritate the digestive tract. She knows she's thought about it on more than one occasion. I need better pain management for a certain horse, kind of thing.
Yes. So I mentioned it earlier. I use light therapy a lot. Mine is
that the red light, or is it something else?
So I started out using infrared, pulsed infrared and red light. And then I discovered the light therapy patches, which actually have a positive and negative, and they move things through the body, versus the red light being local to what you're working with. Acupuncture points, we can stimulate with our finger. We could actually stimulate them with intent, but we won't go there.
You can go there in this group.
Red light, will stimulate those acupuncture points. Something that people may or may not know. Acupuncture points can and will move a certain amount depending on the tension in the fascia and the muscles. So, and as long as you're close, you're good. Your body's energy, your intent, we're going to go into intent a little bit more. Your intent, what I like about the patches is that they are a narrower band, but they cover a larger area. Your red light actually diffuses through the tissue. So, you're catching some of it, but it is not it's not coherent. The patches have more of a coherent effect on that immediate area.
On a side note, those patches helped me get over the hump of the pain I was having, because I was trying to get on the treadmill while I was rehabbing, and I was having a lot of trouble because it just hurt. But when I used these patches, I was able to push past that, and I started to have relief in pain. And then I was able to get the mobility back, and then I didn't need them. You don't need them. It was amazing. So then
you don't need them. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So pain management, I like to go to the patches. I like natural pain management. I also, I don't know if I mentioned, I have an online store that is crashing, so we're not going to give that link just yet. Yeah. So I do like natural supplements, natural herbal extracts that are combinations to address pain and inflammation, and they don't bother the GI tract. And a lot of times horses have pain related to previous issues in the GI tract, and we don't know exactly what causes some horses to have more stress than others. I mean, I think it's the mental thing. We talked about the troubled horses. I think that's a big part of it. So nutrition, good nutritional supplements. So my disclaimer, everybody that knows me has heard this. Some of these products that are out there make these claims, but are you getting, and I'm talking about some prepackaged programs, even though I have a GI program that I use for, quite honestly, ulcers, stress, all kinds of, malabsorption, horses that aren't getting all the nutrition that you're feeding them, 14 pounds a day, and they're losing weight and they look terrible and that sort of thing. Just because a product is in that program doesn't mean that the horse is getting enough of it, because the horse can't always process and absorb what it needs if you're even giving the horse enough of it. So it's a buyer beware. And again, anybody that has any questions, they're welcome to contact me. If you're in the group, just give me a shout out and ask me a question. I don't care.
Thank you. Yeah, if you want to just comment underneath this this live stream, I'm sure I'll tag Dee and then she can come back in and help you guys. That would be awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, Dee.
You're welcome.
Let's see. So Anne would like to know about an everyday technique that we can learn to help relax our horse's muscles before or after work. If there's one go-to.
Okay, I've got one, and you'll have to ask me for it. Comment in the group. And I call it, and I teach it, and I call it "Get Your Groove On."
I love it.
And it's something that I did years and years and years ago with my human bodywork practice. And I just automatically included it in with my horses. And then I found Jim Masterson.
Yes.
And Jim Masterson's bladder meridian technique is the perfect thing to do. Everybody can learn how to do it. The better you get at it, you will realize how much intent has to do with what you're doing with your horse. Feel is very, very important. And that will help you to hone that in as you start watching your horse for responses, releasing this abnormal tension. And that's what I like for people to do before or in between riding, but most especially after riding. Because if your horse has tensed up and is holding on to that tension and doesn't automatically let it go when you unsaddle, this is just an easy way for them to recognize what's going on in their body. And, oh, wait, it's good. Let me just breathe here a minute. Let me just release that and relax that a minute. All horses are going to carry a certain amount of tension. They have to in order, just like us, they have to in order to have structure and movement. But there is a balance there. And when you have excess abnormal tension, the bladder meridian technique is fabulous. And I have a little sheet somewhere.
Awesome.
It's in my group.
Oh, cool.
I think I put it in my group, which is those of you on Facebook, Dee's Tribe. Just look it up.
Yeah, I'll put a link. I'll put a link in here for it. So
yeah. But it is the easiest thing for anybody. I teach 4-H kids sometimes in some of these horse camps, and I teach it in all my clinics. That's the first thing that I teach.
I love that. And that's actually what I encourage all of my students to do. And I've actually included it in my Brave in the Saddle program as one of the lessons.
Oh, and I didn't know that.
And so when you said that, I'm like, yes, I love it. And I hadn't actually, I've mostly did it before riding, but to do it after, that's a light bulb moment I hadn't considered. So now I'm really excited to do that after.
Yes. So a lot of people, it depends on the time that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have, some of my clients and customers, they can only get out to the barn X amount of times, but they can go once a week, like during the week, and spend some quality time with their horse. That's a whole other one of the questions you have for me.
Yes.
But I'm going to go ahead and answer it now. Learn to put your heart in your hand and your hand on your horse. That came from Pat Pirelli many years ago. And it stuck with me because I realized that when you're in my industry, you'll see different people have different approaches and things like that. And I tend to see horses being more receptive and responsive if you're clear in your intent and you put your heart and keep your heart in your hand, don't get discouraged because the horse doesn't know. You just kind of slow down, lighten up, breathe, and give the horse an opportunity to accept it, recognize it, and then respond to it.
Beautiful. And that was in reference to Tamar's question. How would you suggest introducing a horse to body work when they aren't used to that level of care?
Well,
yes.
That
pretty much answers most of that. Yeah.
Yes. And patience.
Mm-hmm.
Patience. Now, I understand that the average owner, rider, isn't used to holding their hand up here for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Sometimes when I'm working with a horse, Beth, you've seen this, it looks like I'm doing nothing and my arm is up here just holding space, waiting, and it looks like I'm doing nothing. Try holding your arm like this for 20 minutes on a regular basis. You'll have to build up these muscles.
More yoga.
Yes, and yes. Don't get tense in your body. The more tension you hold in your body, same with riding, the more tension the horse anticipates. He recognizes your tension, and then he's waiting for, is it going to be more? Is it going to change? You know, and I'm talking about the psyche of the horse again, how they're processing. Do I have to escape this, or what do I do? How do I sink into this? So, but Tamar. Tamar. So your touch, and if you think you're light enough, go lighter. If you think you've waited long enough, wait longer. If your intent is muddled, clarify it. And you will find that horse will respond. A lot of horses don't start with their head. A lot of horses, you can get a lot of response just starting at their shoulder. Maybe your hand up on the withers just lightly. Put your intent in there. I have so when I finish a lot of my sessions, I talk to the horses all the time. They talk back to me. But I will tell them, this is where the good juju lives. And I'm pushing it all from me into you. So if you think about your heart in your hand, all the good energy, the good vibes, the good thoughts, the good wishes, whatever you're trying to accomplish, just think about sending that through your hand, that contact, wherever you are with the horse. And if they get a little antsy, sometimes they have to move their feet. Well, they have to move their feet. So, and that answers, and there's another whole other question there, but yeah. So it's timing and patience and touch and intent. And it's nothing that you cannot learn.
Oh, yes. And she's really tuned in. So I think she's going to have a beautiful time with this new mare.
Oh, good. I love mares.
Oh, she's wonderful. She got a percher on, so it's very exciting. I can't wait to see their journey unfold. So I would love to know, how has your perspective on horses and riding shifted throughout your life?
So when I first started, and we'll skip the, how long I've been riding and blah, blah, blah. Actually, I was like 5 or 6 years old that I remember my grandfather introducing me and blah, blah, blah. And he introduced me first with a plow horse.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then he passed. I didn't have any relationship with horses. And then I married somebody who had horses, and the horses were a tool to carry you from point A to point B, and do what you said. Okay. And then that was the end of that marriage. And it took me a few years to get back into horses. And my mentor at that time was very big about the psyche of the horse. Now I'm going back into the 90s. And And she said, if you want a horse to perform for you, you have to give that horse something. You can't just always take. So I learned the horses can be a tool to get you from point A to point B because you just want the wind to blow in your hair. Well, you can ride a motorcycle and get that. You can't have a partnership with a motorcycle. You can have a partnership with a horse. And when a horse is willing to be a partner, and that was one of my clinic series, and I think it's very much what you do, Beth, it's a willing partnership. Body work is the horse has to be a willing participant. I don't do things to the horse. I do things with the horse. And I think that kind of sets me apart just a little bit, maybe not so much anymore. I mean, 10 years ago it did, not so much anymore. But understanding that this is a partnership. This horse is not a tool. If the horse wants to do what you're asking them to do, fine. And if he doesn't, find another horse that does want to do that. Maybe he wants to do something else. So
that's a really good point. It's so nice to be able to give them choices and figure out how they get their groove on,
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. What turns their light on, lights their fire. I mean, I could go into all kinds of songs from way back when because I'm that old.
You're ageless. That's what I like to say about everyone.
Absolutely.
We're all bonding in the name of the horse, and we're all ageless. That's the way I look at
it. Yes, we are. We are.
So if you had a magic wand, what would you change in the horse world?
Oh, the magic wand. What would I change? I would change how most people understand truly how the horse works. Not that it just has 4 legs and carries me from point A to point B. That they would understand little signs that there's pain or a misunderstanding. And I think misunderstanding, I have a client of mine, and we tend to work with a lot of misunderstood horses. And they're only misunderstanding because they've never been taught. And people don't take they expect things rather than accept things.
Oh, I got chills from that. Yep. That's very well said.
Yeah. I think we expect a lot and accept less. I think that's what I would change in the world.
I think that's awesome. And that goes with my theory of just appreciate everything they do for us, every little thing, and let them know you appreciate them. It's such an honor to sit on them,
It is. It depends on where your mindset is. And I don't expect everybody to want to have that willing partnership with their horse because I work with so many performance horses. They expect the horse to perform. I wish they would understand that that performance would get better if they would get better, if the person would get better, and just give just a little bit more.
That goes with what you started in the beginning. Work more on your own self-care, and then that shift can happen.
It can. You will get better in your mind when your body is in better physical shape. Yes. You can have the best intentions in the world in your mind, but if your body can't do it, you can't do it. What about the horse? The horse says, I'm going to go out here and do this for you, but I can't do this. I can do all these other things. I can't do this. And instead of looking at more trainers and more tools, I think we need to work on ourselves and our understanding.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
So, what's the best piece of advice you were given about horses?
I need to have more time than the horse. The mentor that I spoke of way back, I'll tell a story. She had sold a horse, and the people had the horse for about a month and called her and said, we can't catch this horse. And she's like, well, what do you mean? how much, herd dynamics, things change, environment, whatever. And she, they talked back and forth, and she said, okay, she said, I'll be out there in about 2 hours. And she gets out there, and she, out of her truck, she pulls out, and she smoked. She pulls out a chair and a pack of cigarettes. And she takes the chair and she goes out in the middle of the pasture, the halter and the leads laying on the ground there, opened the pack of cigarettes, took the cellophane off of it, just sat there and just rustled. And she said it wasn't but about 45 minutes later, that horse was over there in her face. What is that? Can I have it? She said they would go out there for 10 or 15 minutes, run the horse around. They would get tired. They would quit. She said, you've got to have more time than the horse. Yes. And I have kept that all the way through, even in my business. If I'm working with the horse on a regular basis every month, I might be able to get through that session 45 minutes to an hour. Depends on what the horse wants to give and how he wants to be. And then there's a time that I've worked with a horse for 3 years, and here I am an hour and 45 minutes later in that session because he needed me to have more time to get done what needed to be done. So yes, my biggest piece of advice was have more time than the horse.
I love that. And so would you write that on a billboard for the horse world to see, or would it be something else?
It would be something else. And it would be maybe unpopular. Manners, people. Both ways. You need to have manners with your horse, as in the time that you take with your horse. Yes, I know in situations, been late to a show, and I can be saddled up, bridled up in 10 minutes and out there doing my walk and getting into show. But if that's what all your horse gets, that's what he expects. So you can't expect him to settle down because you want to spend 20 minutes with him now, when normally you only spend 5. And on the flip side of that, your horses should have manners, as in respecting, I don't like the word respect, but understanding boundaries, understanding that they're 1,000 pounds, 1,200 pounds. We are 120, 150, 200 pounds. That's, they need to understand that they can hurt us.
Yeah.
And
for expectations. Yes.
Yes. And so you, in your interactions every day, you teach your horse what is acceptable and what is not. And when you let some things go, you call in a professional to help you with whatever, and your horse has no manners. And the professional is trying to help, but sometimes it kind of really blocks the help, Sure. And then you get into, well, I'm just going to drug them or dart them and do what I have to do. And then you get people that I just want to get in here and get out of here, instead of really giving the full measure of what they could if the horse had manners.
That comes back to, you need to have more time than your horse. And then it becomes installed easier, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, is there anything else you want to share that I didn't ask you, Dee?
I really don't. I don't know. Your intent, we talked a lot about that. Understanding. I mean, I made some notes, from the questions, and I knew that you were going to be asking me. Oh, yes. So if you are, one more thing, when you're riding, always be riding. Don't be worrying about who's calling you on the phone. Don't be one-on-one with your horse. I think horses appreciate that. That'll be less surprises for you. And that is where you find that when you have an intent before you even ask, the horse is already giving, because you're in tune, you're together.
Absolutely. I love it. That's very much inspired riding. I always think of something you want to do in your mind, ask your heart, make sure it feels good to you, then ask your horse's heart, are you ready? And then if you get green lights on all three, then ta-da, you go for it.
Yes.
Otherwise, if you get any kind of yellow or red lights, you get curious to shift your ideas. So.
Yes. And it will come automatically in the clutch. I'm going to tell you one last little story, and we're probably out of time, but so my husband is a team roper, and I spend a lot of time with team ropers and cows and bulls and things that you do. And I was riding a horse, and they were working cows and doing whatever, and some of the cows broke loose, and I'm just standing there observing, sitting on the horse, but I was riding. We were still 100% connected. And I saw a small bull look at my husband, who was in the arena, and the bull was in the arena. And my first thought is, I've got to do something to head. And I never got the thought out of my mouth before that horse headed that bull off to get his attention away from my husband.
On it, Mom. I love it.
Yes. Yeah. So if you're always riding, you're always connected, and your horse will know, and always be consistent in that. Beautiful. Okay, I'm done. I could go on for hours.
I know, and I love chatting with you. Thank you so much, Dee. I really appreciate your time and all of your information that you shared. I know everyone here in the group will love watching the replay. And how can people get a hold of you if they would like to reach out?
Well, first, I'd like to say you are so welcome, and I enjoy these chats. I know when I come to your place, I'm there for hours and hours because we can chat.
Oh, yes.
If you're on Facebook in the group, Dee Wesley, Bodywork and Integrated Therapies is my page, one of my pages. The other one is Equine Solutions Naturally. And I would really love, I have a brand new group. Well, it's new since the first of the year. And it's called Dee's Tribe, DEE''S TRIBE. And that's a place where my future endeavors are, all the PDFs talking about things, nutrition, like therapy, just whatever that we can share in there. Disclaimer, yes, I do sell products, but I am not you have to buy this. If you ask me a question, I'm just going to give you the answer of what I would use, what has been successful for me, and what you can try. So, but thanks so much for having me again.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. And I'm sending love to all of you. Remember to lead with kindness for yourself and for your horse. And may the horse be with you always.
Yes, I'll take that to work with me today.
Yes.